It's here.
It's October 14th, 2020, which means it is day 14 of the 31 Days of Fright horror movie project, year 9. I am the one and only MSJ, Max for short, and welcome to my YouTube channel. And the sequel for today is the director's cut of Dr. Sleep. It's the sequel to The Shining. I have a lot to say about this movie because I am a huge fan of this movie. I'm just going to tell you right now, this is probably my favorite film adaptation of a Stephen King novel. It's pretty close to Stand By Me and It Chapter 1 and 2, but this one I like because it's a 3-hour movie. I know that may put off people, but there's a shortened version of like 2.5, but I prefer the 3-hour director's cut, which is really great. But anyways, before I get any further into this review, I need you to click subscribe, hit the bell to stay notified for any future videos I will be creating right here on this channel. Hit the like and share this video. That will help me in getting my videos out there to a much broader audience, and as well as leave a comment down below because I want to hear what you have to say about this movie, or I just want to hear what your favorite Stephen King adaptation is. I mean, there's Misery and Dolores Claiborne. There's some like weaker ones like The Langoliers and Tommyknockers and stuff like that, but this one's a very, very strong adaptation. This is the book version. I don't have an actual physical copy of the movie, but I figured the hardback would be just as fine as a prop. And as well as I'm giving 2 shout outs to the 13th Wolfman and I Am the Ice Lord right here on YouTube. They are doing the exact same thing I am doing, but we're all doing so vastly different lists this year. 13th Wolfman, he's been doing a lot of like overseas horror films. You know, he's done Italian, he's done British, he's done Spanish. You know, he's done all those foreign horror films. And then you got I Am the Ice Lord. He just recently did an independent horror movie called Fetus, which I'm oddly intrigued by because I am someone who loves independent movies in general. My favorite movie of all time is Clerks, which is about as independent as you can get when it comes to movies. But it's I love independent horror movies, so I will definitely have to check that out and do the same for me as you do for them. For them is to click subscribe, hit the bell, like, comment, share, all that good stuff for them, because we're all having fun doing 31 videos in 31 days, so it's a blast. So I would deeply appreciate it, and thank you. Now, on to the review. Now, what you need to know about this movie is that it is when it was announced that they were making a sequel to The Shining, or he was writing a sequel to The Shining, that's going to be a lot to live up to because the first book was so good. And but this one takes place when Danny's an adult. He's kind of turned into his dad, you know, like he's an alcoholic, he has a bad temper, he gets into fights. It's just like he's really turning into his dad. And then just one night, he had this one night stand, and I think he finally turned over a new leaf, and he's being haunted by the ghost of the Overlook, and he's learning new abilities to lock them away from O'Halloran, the caretaker from The Shining, or the cook, I should say. I think that's what he was, from the first movie or the book. And it's just like he's learning that, and as well as he's trying to come to grips with his new life and try to like be sober and learn to manage his anger and stuff like that. There's 2 other plots going on in this movie. There's a lot that goes on in this movie. You got this little girl who is very strong with The Shining. Now, put this in this perspective. Like, Danny is very, very strong with his abilities. Like, he is top tier, okay? But this little girl is like a young age, was leaps and bounds above Danny when he was young, and she's like leaps and bounds of him when he's an adult because she is very, very strong. She has these abilities that like Danny hasn't even like done yet. So like, or we'll be able to do. So she's very, very, very strong. So, which leads into the another plot of the movie, which is this cult or this group of traveling gypsies, basically, who are traveling the countryside and state to state, trying to track down people who have this ability, and that's how they live off of it. That's their one form of what keeps them alive for years and years and years, and their supply is starting to dwindle, and there's just not as many people who have this ability anymore. So they're constantly on the lookout for that white whale, which is that little girl. And Danny, and he somehow managed to slip underneath the radar from everybody, because there's a really cool line of dialogue and towards the end of the movie where the cult leader and Danny finally square off, and he's like how did we get by you, and like, or how'd you get by us, and like we like, you are just like great. It's like, since he's an alcoholic, and she's like makes this line, it's like, you taste like whiskey, and it's just like, oh, I just love that, and it's just stuff like that. But so he's kind of learning this new life, and this cult is tracking down this little girl, and at the same time he's trying to help this little girl. Eventually, it's just like, it's a really, really great story, and it all culminates at the end of the book and movie at the Overlook Hotel. And now that's where I kind of have to stop. I really would like to talk about the spoilers and everything, but this book and the movie have a very lots of hurdles to jump over, because the book is a direct sequel to the book, not the movie. So whatever happened at the end of The Shining is direct response, was a direct correlation to this, and like, it's all about that. But the movie has to have a sequel to the original Shining with Jack Nicholson, and also has to incorporate elements from this book, and as well as incorporate elements from the book of The Shining. So it has a lot to tackle and a lot of ways to like organize everything. And luckily, the way The Shining ended allowed this one, the book and the movie, to end properly, or I should say the movie to end properly, because as we all know, Stephen King does not like the film adaptation of The Shining, which he went and created his own little miniseries for it. So, but I love it. I love the look. I love the feel. I love how long it is. I love the acting. Ewan McGregor plays Danny Torrance. I mean, there's a lot of other people in this movie I'm just so drawing a blank on right now, but it's a great, great movie. And there's a really rough scene in this movie. They're really, like, it was really like they went all out on this particular scene. So, if you've seen the movie Bad Boys with the little kids and everything, the main character in that movie, the main kid in that movie, he is a baseball player, and he's really, really good, and he has The Shining, but I don't think he knows it, because he's able to tell what the pitcher is going to throw, because he's when he's up to bat. And when he does that, everyone's like, "How do you know what he's going to throw?" And he's just like, "I just know." He doesn't quite understand that he has this unique ability. So they finally track this kid down, because, like I said, their steam supplies is starting to really diminish, and they're not, people on their crew or this little gang or cult or whatever starting to perish, and so they need to find like this white whale, like I mentioned, and so this little kid, they torture this kid, and it's rough. It is a really rough scene. Like, when I would read reviews and stuff like that, that was the one scene that most people brought up, because it was like, that kid was so good in this scene. Like, he did very good acting. It was very believable. It's a pretty rough scene, I will admit. So if you go into this movie, just expect that. So, that's really all I gotta say, because like the final hour of this movie where they're at the Overlook and Danny is tackling his demons, this cult leader, just his oh man, when he tackles it and trying to protect this girl, it's just awesome. It's just like, and I have to commend this video or this movie for the set design. When they recreated the Overlook, they recreated the Overlook from The Shining, from the carpet to the staircase to the doors to everything. It was like, it was so perfect, and I love it. And it was just so good. So this is this is probably gonna be a long video, but this is probably one of my favorite Stephen King books as well, other than the Dark Tower series. But this movie was also a really good adaptation. It really was. Ewan McGregor playing the son of Jack Nicholson's Jack Torrance, and it's just like, oh wow. And it may be a little off-putting to people that they do recast Jack Nicholson's character and Shelley Duvall's character, the mom and dad of the movie, and Wendy and Jack in the movie. But they do really well. Like the actors who play the Jack Torrance and Wendy Torrance, they are so good. They especially the mom, Wendy Torrance, the mother. She looks like Shelley Duvall. She really does. She has that. She has that voice. She has that that frail look upon her, and she just looks really good, and she's perfect in that role. That actress deserves some acting, some high praise, and as well as the actor who probably had the biggest task of it all as being Jack Torrance. He shows up. There's not a spoiler or anything, but you do see Jack Torrance in this movie, and they picked someone who was really good. I would have liked to seen maybe if they were going to do it, de-age Jack Nicholson so he could play him, but I think this was the better route. I think this was they just find someone who was pretty close in looking as his Jack Torrance from The Shining, but that's probably the biggest complaint about the movie to me, is that it was kind of off-putting at first, but then as the movie kind of went along, you got used to that look or that person playing it, because Jack Nicholson's portrayal of Jack Torrance was so iconic. So it was just took a minute to get used to it, but once it got going, it's like, oh wow, it just went going. So that's really all I gotta say without really diving deep into spoiler territory. So I already gave more than I probably should have, but I do have a rating scale. It's 1, run-of-the-mill horror. This is definitely not it. 2, best watch with the group. 3, more than average horror, but adds nothing new to the horror genre. 4, helps move the horror genre forward. And 5, being a horror classic. I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to say this is a future horror classic, because there is a lot of good things about this movie that is horror-esque, and it may not have the blood and guts or the scares of other Stephen King movies, but this one is it's horrifying. That scene alone with the little kid, where they're torturing him in the middle of this little industrial field, and this mill or whatever, and then just Danny Torrance being his dad, and it's just the True Knot. That's the name of this group, and it's just they're horrifying, and they will stop at nothing to make sure they last forever, or they live forever, and they almost, or do they succeed? So I highly recommend this movie, and that's why I think will be a future horror classic. I think it is. I know it will be, because it's so well acted, and it's so well done. It's just so well across the board. Just visuals, everything, so good. So that's all I gotta say. I am the one and only MSJ, Max was short. Please click subscribe, hit the bell to stay notified, comment, and share this video, because I would appreciate it, and I know that I Am the Ice Lord and the 13th Wolfman would appreciate that too. If you go over and do that stuff to their channel as well. And my final words, as always, are thank you.